Over the last few days here on the channel, we have covered a lot of different theories and possibilities for Blonde Blazer and Invisigal. And honestly, I've had a lot of fun doing it. And the theories and the things that are currently surrounding this fan base and this game are insane. Now, I try to cover only the ones that I genuinely believe could be true, or the ones that actually took me completely by surprise and I feel like, there might be some merit to it. So today, to make things less complicated for me and maybe you, I want to cover 3 different theories or possibilities about who the hell is really Shroud and what actually happened to Mechaman Astral, aka Robert Robertson II, aka Robert Robertson III's father. For theory number 1, we take a look at the possibility that we have actually been played all along by the game's narrative. The game makes us believe that Shroud is former Brave Brigade hero Elliot Connors, and it even shows us a picture of him in episode 1. Honestly, this didn't raise any red flags for me as I just went with the story, but more eagle-eyed observers immediately began theorizing that Elliot Connors wasn't actually Shroud, and that there was a deeper conspiracy going on. For example, Zero Rules 99 commented this: "After watching numerous videos and doing some theory crafting of my own, if anyone is Shroud, I really think it's Chase. He recommended Robert to Blazer, even though, as he himself said, he hadn't spoken to Robert in a long time. He also recommended him right when Robert came out of his coma, which is very convenient. He also made a joke about if he could bring Robert Fathers back and kill him again to solve his aging problem, he would. This by itself isn't a big deal, but if you think about the fact that Shroud is augmenting not only normal people, but also powered beings to improve their powers, it makes sense. If Chase is Shroud, then maybe he's augmenting other superpowered individuals because he himself has struggled to live with the side effects of his powers. If that's all accurate, the question still remains as to why he wanted Robert alive and in the SDN. I think this is because he needs that core from the suit, and the only way he's going to get that core is if Robert works with the SDN to remake it. So this theory has maybe some potential holes, but I honestly really liked it. The fact that Chase is suffering from this super fast aging is very curious, and it could be a big motivation and a factor as to why he would want to use the astral pulse. And to expand on this, you have Rand Howell, who talked a little bit about the mannerisms of Shroud and Chase. He says that the few times we see Shroud, he walks with his hands clasped behind his back. Only other character that repeatedly walks like that is Chase. The Shroud seemed to be experimenting with augmenting hero powers. Could this be to fix the quirk with his own powers that causes him to age? And so those are some similarities that Rand Howell noticed with Chase and Shroud. And other people have stated that maybe Chase could use the astral pulse to regain maybe some of the years that he lost and go back to a younger state, maybe use the astral pulse to slow down the age rate and be able to use his powers again without the fear of dying quicker. And that could be one of the main motivating factors. This theory in general, if you put it together well, if you really think about it, it could be very true. So yeah, is Chase Trackstar actually Shroud, looking to get something that he lost back? For theory number 2, we have a look at Robert Robertson II. I know this one right here was absolutely crazy to me, but some people suggested that the second Mechaman faked his death and became Shroud, and he began using the astral pulse as a way to control and help improve other powered individuals. Now, some suggest that this is due to the mysterious relationship that Robert II and his son Robert III had. It's implied that the two's relationship wasn't the best, and this was due to Robert III's dad not being the best father or the best father figure. Some would argue that the first Mechaman was good and only wanted to help. However, Mechaman Astral was more in it for the fame, money, and power that he could get from being a hero, and so he joined the Brave Brigade and somewhat became the face of it. We also know this Mechaman became rich somehow and used the money to improve his suit. Jesus Mendes, in a theory of his own, suggested that Mechaman was using the Brave Brigade resources and money to feed his own personal growth, and this led to a confrontation where maybe Robert II died. I would like to add or change to this theory a bit. Maybe he was confronted by the team and badly injured, and so he somehow faked his death and became Shroud and wants the astral pulse back. and maybe he leads an attack on the new heroes like the ones found in the SDN. The reason that he didn't kill Robert III was due to him being his son and him only wanting the astral pulse back. This theory here needs a lot of reworking and needs many things to happen or fall into place for it to even remotely work. It's a difficult theory and one that maybe I wouldn't be so inclined to believe, but many of you guys had really interesting points and things to say about it, so I decided to add it. The only real issue I have with this one is, why would Mechaman II leave all his money behind and turn evil? Like, what was the benefit of that, unless he was kicked out of the Brave Brigade and became bitter? Now, the third theory, which makes a bit more sense than the second, is that Shroud actually is Elliot Connors, who we know was a very smart person, genius level actually, and we know that he is helping powered individuals augment their powers and become stronger. And I think that Space Owls explains it best here. I suspect that the reason Shroud left the Brave Brigade is because Robert Robertson II didn't make the astral pulse. Shroud did and got sidelined. That is why Shroud knows the power capacities of the Mechaman suit, and why Royd was saying that Robert's dad wasn't a lab guy, but a tech guy, and you really needed to be both to make the astral pulse. I don't think Mechaman Sir was entirely a good guy either, and Robert is going to end up finding out about that the hard way. Likely, Robert II died in a freak accident during an altercation with Shroud. It's a very, very good and interesting theory. Space Owl talks about the fact that Elliot Connors felt maybe sidelined or pushed to the side or even got kicked out of the group, and Mechaman Astral ended up taking and using the astral pulse to gain fame and become beloved. Maybe he took credit for creating the astral pulse, and this led to Elliot Connors becoming Shroud to get revenge on Mechaman Astral and get his astral pulse back. The theory can be strengthened by this scene here.
Guess when you're building astral pulses, there's not much time for talking to your son.
Not so sure about that.
I don't understand.
You see, there's gearheads, then there's science nerds. One kind garage, the other kind lab, you know. Your father was a good gearhead, but I just can't see how he'll make something like the pulse. You know, science nerd.
How would you know this from talking to him once?
Because I'm both.
Roy talks about knowing Robert III's dad, and he assumes that he could never have built the astral pulse because he wasn't a lab guy, implying someone else built it for him. We know Shroud was in prison for a long time, and Roy probably had his stints in prison as well. Shroud may have met Roy in prison at some point, and that's where he got all this knowledge. And maybe Roy is on Shroud's side because of this. The reason Shroud didn't kill Robert Robertson III is because maybe he really didn't want to or care to. All he wanted was to get back his creation, the astral pulse, and maybe he wanted the Mechaman to die, but not necessarily Robert Robertson III, as he didn't really have any grudge towards him, only his father. This also explains why in episode 1, Toxic says multiple times that the astral pulse does not belong to Robert. I honestly like this theory a lot, and one thing I do want to mention is that Jeffrey Wright plays Trackstar, aka Chase. And now, if many of us assume he's Shroud, we would also have to assume that Jeffrey Wright would voice the character of Shroud. But Dispatch announced on their Instagram that the actor that plays Shroud is Matthew Mercer, who's a good actor in his own right. So when we finally do hear Shroud talk, it would probably be Matthew's voice. Now, I know this isn't the best argument against Theory 1, but I thought it would be something to mention. Maybe the story isn't as complicated as we're making it out to be, or maybe it is. I don't know. Either way, these are 3 theories that I really thought should be put out there, and we may get more of an insight into Mechaman Astral, Robert Robertson III's dad, in this week's episode 5 and 6, which was hinted at diving into the history of he and his son, Robert III. And I'm also looking forward to the comics, which may reveal even more details on this entire situation.